for this question, and it is one of the options in our multiple choice is D. Okay, so that was 3 that we just did. So let's take a look at number 4. Okay, so number 4 is a laws of exponents question. So let me just write it. It's number 4, and the question states 7 to the 5th power divided by 7 to the 2nd power. And so this is the division law we're going to have to deal with right here, which is where we subtract the exponents. But we're not done, because not only do we have 7 to the 5th divided by 7 to the 2nd power, we're also multiplying by 7 to the 3rd power in this case. So let's see, let's take each part. So right here, parentheses come first in our order of operations. So 7 to the 5th power divided by 7 to the 2nd. Right here, this stuff becomes 7 to the 5 subtract 2. So this stuff right here is 7 to the 3rd power. But now we can't forget, we're not finished here. We still have to multiply this by 7 to the 3rd power. So 7 to the 3rd power times by 7 to the 3rd power, this is the multiplication law of exponents. And so in this case, we need to add the exponents. So we have 7 to the 3 plus 3. And we can only use this law because we have the same base. Now here the 7 and a 7, those are our bases. If this was a 7 to the 3rd times by 5 to the 3rd, we really couldn't add these exponents. That wouldn't be allowed. So in this case, this is fine. We still have our 7s. So 3 plus 3 is 6, so this becomes 7 to the 6th power. And that is one of our options when we check our answers in the multiple choice. So that was number 4. Okay, let's move on. You know what, anytime, please pause this video if you didn't understand and maybe go back a little and watch it again, because you know it's always helpful to go back. With this being a test coming up, I wouldn't skip and move on. I'd make sure that you understand each question as we're doing it before you move on, or you know, watch it a couple of times. Okay, number 5 is asking us to find the square root of 212. And so when we're asked to find the square roots, one of the things that we've got to do is think to ourselves, is the number a perfect square? Now if this was a nice perfect square, let's say 225, and we were asked to find the square root, then we should know and we should have memorized our perfect squares all the way up to 225. So the square root of 225 would be 15. And this is because 15 squared, which is 15 times 15, gives us our 225. But unfortunately, we are not that lucky. This question right here is asking us to find the square root of a non-perfect square. So in this case, what we need to do is we need to find the closest perfect squares above 212 and also below 212. So the closest perfect square above is actually this 225. Okay, so that's the closest perfect square above 212. And the closest perfect square below 212 would be 196. And again, I didn't just make up that number. It's a memorized number, and this is how we get it. So 225, we know the square root of it is going to be 15. 15 times 15 gives us a 225. So the lower perfect square, when we take the square root, is going to be 14. So sometimes that helps. Maybe you know one of these perfect squares, and so I figured out that this was 15. Now even if I forgot that 196 is the next perfect square down, I could just think to myself, well, 15, one down is 14. If I do 14 squared, 14 times 14, it would give me the 196. So that would also help me show work in this case. Now, why do we do this? Well, we know that 212 is between 196 and also 225. So we know that the square root of 212 is between 14 and also 15. And in this case, that's our answer. It asks us in the question, what is the approximate value of the square root of 212? And the options are between 13 and 14, between 14 and 15, between 15 and 16. So we know in fact that this is somewhere in between 14 and 15. And we could estimate it, if we found out that 212 is actually 13 units away from 225, and it's also, let's see, it's 16 units away from 196. So we know that it's slightly closer to the 15. So if this was a line down the middle, 212 would in fact be approximately here, so slightly closer to the 15. So we could even estimate this as 14.6, 14.7, and this would be a very good estimate. But we're lucky. The question just asks us between which two whole numbers is the square root of 212, so the answers would be 14 and 15. So that was question number 5. So let's take a look at number 6. So we're moving pretty fast, but number 6 is a nice question. It's a friendly question. This one just asks us for the square root of 25. So even if we didn't know that 25 was a perfect square, we could probably still figure this out. We could think, even if we didn't know the definition of perfect square, we could still think, well, what times what times itself gives us 25, and hopefully the entire class has this. There's really no excuse to get this wrong. The answer is 5, because 5 times itself, 5 squared, does equal 25. And so 25, the square root of it, does give you 5. Squaring and square root, these are squaring and square root, these are inverse operations. So again, the math language, the math vocabulary, we must remember these things. We really must. Okay, so that's number 6 done. That was probably a quick one. And all the time when we're taking tests, we're thinking to ourselves, how many minutes until the end? But really, how many minutes total and how many questions? And so how long should I be taking on each question? So questions like the square root of 25 are great questions because we should be able to do them very, very quickly. We should be able to really do these things quickly and then move on and save the time elsewhere. Okay, so we're up to number 7 now. So let's take a look at number 7. Number 7 is asking us which of the following is a perfect square. So which of these is a perfect square? So we have A, which is 44. So even as I'm doing these, I should be able to say, well, 44 isn't on that list of perfect squares, so I could cancel it. But let's write them all out first. So we have B as 87. We have C as 121. We have D as 180. And really, this is just a memorized thing, Well, 49 would be a perfect square. 36 would be a perfect square, because 6 times 6. But 44 isn't. 87, well, I should know 81. 81 is 9 times 9. And 100 is 10 times 10, but 87 isn't there. Now 121, I should remember from my times table, is 11 times 11. So this is the correct answer. And 180, well, no, that's not there. 13 times 13 is 169. So 13 squared gives me 169. Now 14 squared gives me 196. So, 180 isn't in there because we went from 13 squared to 14 squared. So 180 isn't a perfect square. Okay, because remember, a perfect square is a number, a whole number times by itself. Yeah, that's what a perfect square is. So 1 times 1 gives you the result of a perfect square, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, and so on.